Okay, so say for example you've got high blood pressure. Let's say for example you've got blood pressure of 150 over 110 at rest. Now would we train you as trainers? Probably, but we probably need to keep a close check on you. Right? We wouldn't let you off on your own, and we certainly wouldn't push you to 100% maximum. Come on, push it up, push it up, push it up, as we would healthy people. Now folks, if you have 2 or more risk factors, that's considered to be high risk. Okay? Now I don't do that to scare people, and I did this once, and a guy just took a room and left because I think it was sort of scared him. But I do that to bring to your attention that if you do need to take a look at yourself, say for example, and I'll tell you a story in about 20 seconds of a client that I had. If you do have a lot, you need to be aware of it and take action. Okay? I used to work as an ECG technician. Now an ECG technician is someone who here knows what a stress test is? Just pop your hand up. Great, fantastic. For those of you who don't know what a stress test is, we basically stick a couple of electrodes on you, chuck you on a treadmill, and we run you till you drop. Not till you drop, till you can't go anymore. Okay? So I wasn't the doctor, obviously, but I was working with the doctor. And what I used to do was I was the guy with the blood pressure monitor. I was the guy with the ECG, shake the chest, make sure everything was okay, make sure they stood on the treadmill, didn't walk off the back as they were doing the test. And a guy called, let's call this guy Gus. A guy called Gus walked in one day, and I was doing the preparations, and I said, Gus, how you going? And he said, Wes, mate, I'm all fired up and ready to do this test. Now, Gus was obviously a CEO. He was probably about 20 to 30 kilograms overweight. And just for your information, the resting heart rate's about 60 to 80 beats per minute. I took Gus's resting heart rate. He was up around 110 beats per minute. He hadn't even taken a step yet. He was sweating profusely. And I don't think he had the hots for me, folks. I honestly think he was unfit. Okay, very unfit. Anyway, he got on the test, and the average test lasts between about 6 and 12 minutes. I said, Gus, get on this treadmill. It lasts between about 6 and 12 minutes. The average person, if you're really unfit, maybe 4 or 5. And the best I've seen in my career was about 18 minutes. And Gus said, right, I'll be fine, mate. Just chuck me on, and we'll see how we go. So about a minute and a half into the test, 1 minute and a half. Now, if you've ever done the stress test, it's almost a crawl. It's almost like this, right? And it's on a slight incline. His heart rate goes up to 200 beats per minute. A minute and a half into the test. And his ECG starts going like you would not believe. It starts going nuts. Now, the doctor walks up to me and taps me on the shoulder and says, Wes, I want you to stop the test. And Gus says, hell, Doc, why are you stopping the test for? I'm doing really well. Doc says, because you're going to die. Gus says, bloody good decision, mate. So I stopped the test, and, it really amazed me how someone could get in such a debilitating condition when they last a couple of minutes on this very, very basic test. Now, I don't know what happened to Gus, and my guess would be he went off for further testing and had surgery. That would be my guess. But again, very, very scary and not something that you want to happen to you. So, let's have a look at what's happening worldwide in terms of heart disease. Let's just talk about 12 million people every year die from heart disease. Probably the biggest killer there is. This is the same as 1 death every 2 seconds. 1 death every 2 seconds. 33,000 people every day, which is the Suncorp Stadium. For those who can't imagine, picture the Suncorp Stadium full of people, Australia, New Zealand, whatever it is in the rugby. Picture them all dead. That's how many people that die every single day from heart disease. Very, very scary statistic. In terms of diabetes, 1 in 2 people over the age of 60 will develop diabetes. 1 in 3 will develop cancer. And every hour, 4 to 5 people suffer a stroke. So based on those figures, guys, you will be fine, but the person to your right and your left, they're pretty stuffed, aren't they? Doesn't quite add up. Alright, now exercise. Who here invests? Who here invests in property, shares? Well, don't be shy. Well, we've got some investors in the room. Alright, would it be fair to say that if you took some strategies, or if you did certain things can you minimise your risk of losing your capital? Would it be fair to say, just as a general comment? Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it? Would it be fair to say that if you invested and you took strategies that could increase your rate of return that someone else did that you copied, would that be fair to say you could do that too? Yeah, great. Now, I use that analogy because in terms of health and fitness, it's your life bank account is just like your capital. Okay? You have a certain amount of hours that you use, and by exercising, that increases the amount of hours that you live, and it also increases the productivity that you have within those hours. So an investor would look at his risks, an investor would analyse his risks. A good investor would also do something about it if they could. Okay? So let's have a look at some of the stats that are currently happening in terms of why exercise can be a strategy to help you reduce or help you lower the risk as much as you can. Now, I'm not going to read through all this stuff, but just probably the main points are decreases your risk of heart disease by about a half. Okay, you've got 50% less chance of it happening to you if you're currently active. If you're a little bit older and you tend to fall, okay, reduce the risk of you cracking your hip and dying by about 25%. And a few other things here and there that are really, really powerful in terms of turning the odds in your favour. Okay, so it's almost a no-brainer, isn't it, in terms of exercise? Something that if you're not doing, it sort of doesn't make sense. It's like almost like investing in the share market, going in completely blind, putting in 100 grand and not putting any strategies to protect your money. Or if you're not exercising. And it's probably something you wouldn't do, so if you're not exercising, why not? Folks, we're coming to a close. The benefits, now Dr. Geffin's going to speak to you more about the benefits of exercise, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. But we can see that exercise reduces a whole heap of chronic diseases, a whole heap of chronic conditions, cancer, osteoporosis, diabetes. It helps benefits in all these conditions. Now, I'm not just making this up, guys. If there are any academics in the room, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of articles that undisputed and continually prove the benefits of exercise. Now, if you are an academic, you know that when there's a topic out there, it's usually debated back and forth, and one author will slam another, and one author will slam another. With exercise, it's undisputed, unequivocal. Okay? All the articles point towards better health if you exercise, from academics all over the world, from well-respected journals all over the world. So, folks, as we come to a close now, if we look at the waterfall, and it's a nice big long waterfall, there tend to be two people that look at life in two different ways. First person, what I call proactive people, they'll sort of, because let's just say it's the waterfall of life. You cruise down it, and your death is the plunge. Okay, that's when you go overboard, and it's good night. So people who are proactive will tend to know that there's a big drop, and they'll plan and take action. Their power to not go over the edge, or at least extend how long they travel. And folks, the reactive people just cruise along in life, and they're the people who say, oh, I'll do it when I get time, I'll do it when my kids move out, I'll do it when I get my money, I'll do it when this, and this. And folks, they just cruise and cruise and cruise, and they finally realise that at the top of the waterfall, there's a 500 metres down to the bottom, there's not a damn thing they can do about it. Once they go over that waterfall, folks, only a very small percentage live. And of those that do live, they have a significantly decreased quality of life. So folks, I'm going to finish up today with a really powerful quote that changed my life, and it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. And it goes like this: if you can't put aside a little time now for exercise, make sure you put aside a lot of time later for illness, sickness and disease. Powerful quote. Folks, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, and listen, I hope to catch up with you after the day. I'm going to hand over